In this video, we'll be taking a look at 3 college basketball games happening on November 8, 2022, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games. So 2 picks for each game, 6 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 3 college basketball games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive betting picks to take your sports betting journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer anywhere from 1 betting pick a day up to 10 betting picks a day and much more. Now let's get started. Wisconsin-Milwaukee versus Purdue. The Milwaukee Panthers take on the Purdue Boilermakers in an early season inter-conference bout on Tuesday night. The Panthers recorded a poor 10-21 record last season, finishing 9th in the Horizon League. The Boilermakers logged a dominant 25-6 record and finished 3rd in the Big Ten. Milwaukee is 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 games overall and 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 road games, while the over is 7-3 in their last 10 Tuesday games. Purdue is 2-9-2 against the spread in their last 13 games overall and 2-6-1 against the spread in their last 9 home games, while the over is 5-2 in their last 7 Tuesday games. Under new head coach Seth Lundy, the Milwaukee Panthers hope to improve. They signed several key transfers, including Keon Edwards, who spent last season with Nebraska. Vin Baker Jr., who played for Boston College for a few years, is expected to have a big year for the program. Milwaukee also added Jalen Johnson, who was a big scorer for Alabama Bulldogs last season, averaging a stellar 16 points per game. Furthermore, the Boilermakers lost 2 of last year's top 3 players. Trevion Williams has graduated, and Jaden Ivey is now in the NBA. Ivey led the team in scoring, while Williams was the team's second-best rebounder. This leaves a large void that will be difficult to fill. The team features Zach Edey but is relying on many players to increase production from last season, which may take a few games for the Boilermakers to find a groove. So the Milwaukee Panthers to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Milwaukee's interior defense should be able to do just enough to keep Zach Edey and company from completely dominating this game. Per Hoop Math, Milwaukee led the country in field goal percentage defense at the rim last season. Granted, they didn't face someone as imposing as Zach Edey, but the interior defense was the lone strength of the Panthers last year. Purdue is still going to score with relative ease, but the difference between Purdue finishing with a point total in the high 70s instead of the 90s could be the determining factor in keeping the total from going over. The reason for that is Milwaukee's anemic offense. Last season, the Panthers ranked 346th in Ken Palm's adjusted offensive efficiency, and while they have a new coaching staff and several new players, it's unlikely to see a finely tuned offense on opening night, especially against an opponent of Purdue's caliber. Purdue did struggle last season on the defensive end, ranking just 93rd in Ken Palm's adjusted defensive efficiency, but we shouldn't expect that defense to be challenged much in this matchup with Milwaukee. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. Rider versus Providence. The Providence Friars will welcome the Rider Broncs to Amica Mutual Pavilion for Providence home opener. Coach Ed Cooley and the Friars were an interesting team last season, seemingly on the right side of last-second shots, foul calls, and loose balls. Many dubbed them the Providence Luck Boxes. What is not disputable is their regular season Big East title and run to the Sweet 16, the deepest run for the program since 1997. Coach Cooley will welcome 8 new faces to the team this year as they look to disprove any remaining naysayers. Rider made a tournament run in their own right. They upset Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference 1 seed Iona and made it to the conference semifinals before getting knocked out. Kevin Baggett took this team deeper in the conference tournament than they'd been in 10 years. He has the Broncs on the right track. The Rider Broncs start their regular season Tuesday night in Providence against the Providence Friars. Rider will look to improve on a below-average season from a year ago after finishing 5 games under .500 after a 4-point loss to Monmouth ended their season. Defensively, Rider had issues in the final game of the year as the Hawks made 44% of their shots, score 72 points including 43 in the second half. Offensively, Ryder shot the ball well, making 51.9% of their shots and 47.1% from beyond the arc, but made only 75% of their free throws and turned the ball over 11 times in the loss. The Providence Friars come into this season looking to repeat their success from a year ago. Providence finished last season with 27 wins in 33 games played following a 5-point loss in the Sweet 16 to the eventual national champion Kansas Jayhawks. Offensively, Providence was terrible in their final game of the year, making only 33.8% of their shots and 17.4% from beyond the arc to score 61 points in the game after an abysmal 17-point first half. The bad news for Providence is that 8 players and all 5 starters are gone from last year's team. The good news is that there's still plenty of talent here, and with any luck the Friars should be competitive again in 2022 to 2023. It'll be a much younger team featuring 5 transfers. Holdovers Jared Bynum, Alan Breed and Ed Crosswell will need to step it up on the court as well as in the locker room. This is a good place to start, and I think the Friars will come out firing. So the Providence Friars to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Bronx have gone over the total in each of their last 8 games against Big East teams. Meanwhile, Providence's best player was also its best outside shooter last season. The Friars also added Locke, who has been knocking down triples at a high rate throughout his career. Ryder is a team that relies on high-volume shooting, as was their recipe last season. Even though I expect Providence to play at a slower pace, the Friars should have an efficient offense and capitalize on second-chance opportunities. Transfer Locke should knock down a couple corner threes. Ryder struggled defending the perimeter last season, and Ryder big man Ojmuno Johnson should get a couple and ones and tip-ins. Ryder won't be able to get enough stops at the end of the day, and they'll also get the shot volume needed to get points on the board. Ryder was a high-scoring team down the stretch last year, which resulted in the over-cashing in 4 of its final 5 games. It is unlikely that anything is going to change this season, especially with all of its returning production back on the court. The combination of Providence's strong outside shooting and Ryder's returning scores make a high-scoring affair very likely in this one. Over the projected total is our full game total pick. Coppin State versus Georgetown. The Coppin State Eagles and the Georgetown Hoyas meet Tuesday in college basketball action from Capital One Arena. Coppin State has already played a game this week. In that Monday matchup versus Charlotte, the Eagles took a 23-point loss. As for Georgetown, they went just 6-25 overall last year for a last-place finish in the Big East. Coppin State went through a pretty rough season in 2021 to 2022. The Eagles finished at just 9-22 overall and 6-8 in Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference play. That result left the team just 1 spot out of the basement in the standings ahead of only winless Delaware State. In Monday's season opener versus Charlotte, the Eagles were down 45-32 at halftime and limped to an 82-59 loss. Sam Sessoms led the team scoring with 24 points, 3 assists, and 3 boards. Both Justin Winston and Nenda Tark added 8 points apiece. Over on the Hoyas side, they took quite the step back from the previous campaign last year, finishing at just 6-25 and going 0-19 in Big East games. Georgetown was firmly in the basement of the standings with that effort, 6 wins behind DePaul and Butler. Georgetown wasn't terrible in non-conference play last season, going 6-5 overall. The Hoyas' last victory came on December 15th, and the team spent the rest of the season in futility. After a first-round loss to Seton Hall, the year was mercifully over. The Eagles are 18-7-1 against the spread in the last 26 road games and 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 Tuesday games. The Hoyas are 5-2 against the spread in the last 7 overall and 3-8 against the spread in their last 11 Tuesday games. In their first game Monday, the Eagles faded as the game went on, posting just 27 points in the second half against Charlotte's 37. That said, a lot of different players got in the game during mop-up time, so the secondary production may help the team cover in this one. As for Georgetown, they lost a ton of production from last year's team, retaining just 4 players total, and maybe that's not a terrible thing. That said, the Hoyas still have Dante Harris, who had 11.9 points per game last year, and Ryan Mutombo from a season ago. If that pair can contribute well and help guide the newcomers, 2022 to 2023 may not be so bad for Georgetown. So the Coppin State Eagles to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Coppin State lost possession by a turnover 14.4 times per contest and as a group committed 16.8 fouls on a nightly basis. As a squad, Coppin State snagged 34.2 rebounds per contest and totaled 353 assists over the course of last season, which was 293rd in Division I in terms of passing. The Eagles connected on 29.7% on shots from downtown and 68.4% from the charity stripe. They averaged 67 points per contest while shooting 38.6% from the floor. Defensively, the Eagles were able to force their opponents into 15.8 turnovers every game, and they drew 17.1 personal fouls. They were ranked 299th in the country in giving up assists, with 454 relinquished over the course of last year. The Eagles defensively allowed a shooting percentage of 41.9%, and they surrendered 43.5 rebounds per game as a squad. They surrendered 35.2% on three-point shots, while they were 311th in college hoops in opponents' points per game. The Hoyas were responsible for committing 16.2 fouls per contest, and they connected on 74.4% from the free throw line. They assisted teammates 11.8 times per game, and they gave up possession 13.4 times per game. Georgetown scored 2,192 points throughout last season, and they collected 37.3 rebounds per game. As an offense, the Hoyas hit 40% from the field, which was ranked 342nd in the country. The Hoyas on the defensive side of the court were 336th in college hoops in points per game allowed, with 77. They forced 12.8 turnovers per game and allowed teams to shoot 45.9% from the floor. The Georgetown defense allowed 36.9% on three-point shots, and their opponents connected on 72.6% of their free throw shots. They gave up 17.0 dimes and 37.1 total rebounds per game, which had them ranked 356th and 310th in college hoops. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.